goofing off, okay? It may seem like we're goofing off, but we're definitely not goofing off.
You might not goofing off, but I want the money.
I know. That's the we're in the same boat. All right, so let me just show you what's cooking, okay? All right, so it's been a long time. When's the last time I was here? 2 years? More?
I don't think I've seen you since we signed the lease.
No, I came back because remember when we first visited, I said, just wait, the story will change.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to look different because, and I'll show you what's changed. But remember, I came back and I showed you those little islands, and you said, "Oh yeah, you need to be near the ocean."
Oh, okay.
Remember that?
Yeah, that's been quite a while.
It was I'll tell you when we first dreamed it up was probably 2012, but 13 is when we started up at Supply. We did actually 14, but we did a deal with Newborn up there. Okay, so I won't go into all this. This is obviously our niche, so I won't get into that. It's kind of interesting though. Obviously right now the oil and gas business is as tough as nails. Okay,
like farming,
yeah, it's like farming. Commodity prices are all just really, really, really hard. But at the end of the analysis, the good thing about the Anadarko Basin, this is the whole basin right here. So you're right here. Okay, this is supply right there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
The good thing about the Anadarko Basin is it's got a lot of different what we call stacked pay. So there's a lot of different formations. Some are sands, some are carbonates that have produced vertically for years. So when we first started this idea, we were actually keen off of Apache, and you sort of remember this map. Okay, so here's where you all are. This is Fargo. This is where I just was. We're doing a really interesting. We got involved with the University of Texas and 3M. I think I mentioned that to you when we were first visiting years ago. And then that's actually ended up being kind of a long-term good relationship and successful. So we're still down in Fargo doing some enhanced recovery. So that's like on Mike Snyder.
Mike Snyder.
Okay, and so that's where we're really focusing. We had some on Omer as well. So when we first had this idea, my alma mater, Amoco, had sold to Apache back in like 2003 or 2, all of its assets in this general area. And so, wave.
I was waiting on her
To see if the dog was good?
Yeah.
Well, the dog seems to be fine, I think.
Where's she at?
I don't know.
I mean, I thought she'd be back in here. So.
Well, she'll be back in. We'll show
Okay,
Kathy.
the dog. You can see the dog.
I think we're okay. Yeah, I don't hear the dog. I think we're in good shape.
Let me look out the
You
door.
want to look out the door real fast? Okay.
Oh, there she is. Okay.
Okay, we're in good shape.
He gets so excited that you can put the chain on and he'll jump up.
How old is your dog?
I don't know. He's a pound dog.
Oh, you got him from the shelter or something?
Yeah. So,
Cool. Didn't you have another dog when I was here?
Yes.
The older dog finally passed away.
Yeah.
Okay. This is different. Did I have dogs when I was here before? I guess I didn't really.
No.
I had dogs forever. These are I trained dogs and they're like ball and drug and they're working dogs. And I had them for years. And then when I was doing this deal first with you all, it was sort of in between. I was so busy putting this project together, and then this fellow convinced me to. There's a young dog in a car to take this dog and try to turn him into a working man. But anyway, so when we first came up with the idea, what happened was that Apache had drilled a deal in what's called Cherokee that was right around vertical production. So there's an old vertical field. This is up by Laverne.
Oh, okay.
And they were drilling horizontal wells. I'll show you a couple pictures of that. And what we thought was exciting, which is why we started to gather up acreage along this trend, was they had way better results on the horizontal and the vertical. So the X factor was way higher. So it was interesting. I was up there looking at it. We knew some of the guys in Apache. We talked to them as well about potentially partnering up. And we had been working this area for many years, and we already had some ideas. So we started actually more in this area around Supply. This is the old field. This Wes Sanders' property is right over here. Woodward would be right down in here.
So I'm right.
You're down here.
Am I where?
You're down in this area. So
Oh,
you're literally
okay.
you're literally right there. Because remember we had that stake in the field at one point. And I'll explain very briefly why that didn't happen and what we're doing now. So anyway, it was exciting. We were interested. We knew the play. We started to say, how can we use horizontal wells and vertical targets that have produced for years to get reserves out that never been tapped in much better economics and much more efficient drilling. So one well does the work of 20, as my father had The other area that we were interested in at the time, and had been interested in actually since '03, we had found a little bit of production in this area down here in the actual, what's called Oswego. Oswego's right above Cherokee, just to give you the deal. So it's all Des age. Okay, so the Toka would be really what we call the source rock. There's Des age. Can't really see because it's small, but there's Cherokee, and this Marmaton group's Des Moines. Okay, so they're both in this what we call Pennsylvania age rocks, Des Moines in its class, and again in this little box. Okay, so it lets you know region again. There's supply right there. Okay,
Right.
This was the area that Apache was drilling up there by the Verne. Okay, so that gives you sort of regional areas. The same kind of rocks are being exploited much deeper down in central Oklahoma now, and also I'm going to show you a little bit over here in Kingfisher, with some very interesting success. So we've been using those. This is just really in the last year we've been able to gain a lot. We've been sharing data with the operators. We've learned a lot and how we can apply it to what we're doing, trying to shorten the learning curve. So this is the second vertical objective that we saw throughout this trend. And it was Oswego, again, above it, but it also came down to where you are. But what was probably more interesting to us is that the size of this target was way bigger. Yeah, come over here, Marilyn. Come over, sit over here, if you would, please, so you can see better. So at the time we first did this, we focused on this, and then we had this group called Milagro that we were involved with. They wanted to drill a shale well. Of course, you hear that on TV about shale wells and this and that. Well, that's frankly more of a Wall Street term. The production that's actually been economically successful is generally a mixed lithology. So it may have a shalier content to it, which was originally the source rock, but it usually has sands and carbonates, or sands and limestone. So it's not really different in your area. So this was the second vertical objective that we saw that was an excellent potential horizontal target. And over time, we decided technically that this was really the primary and that was secondary. And we had a challenge with the group we were involved with when we had this stakeout here. We were trying to move them around to do different ideas, and they were backed by some bankers that essentially said you got to drill a shale well. So they drilled, in our judgment, up north, up here on Buster Record, if you know Buster and Jane Record. They're up north of Laverne, of Supply. They drilled, a quote shale well, and they also drilled a similar one on West. West has made a little bit of this is Sanders. He made a little bit of oil. This was a complete failure. And we suggested to them before they started it that it was really not the right use of capital. We did get them to drill a sand well down here in the Cottage Grove in Fargo, which was actually quite successful. The only part that was disappointing was they didn't target it very well, and I'll show you what that means in a minute. So basically, here's what's happened. Okay, so we went from sort of a little bit of action to the following, and you've probably seen some of this or heard some of this, and we've been involved in all of it. So there's several ideas along this area. We believe the next one that needs to really be pursued, and we did it up here at Supply with Mewborn in the summer, is this Oswego, and I'll show you why in a minute. However, we did get involved. Range, you maybe remember, you heard something about this over kind of near Woodward. Range Resources came in a couple of years ago now. It's been, and they wanted to drill a different objective called Merrimack. Now Merrimack is Mississippi, and so on the Strat column. We'll just go back to that real fast.
That's just kind of east or north.
That was just right outside of town. You know who was Stricker? Stricker had a little bit of land there, and I'll tell you who had land with Bush. Remember Bush? His daughter is married to the postman up there in Woodward. I can't remember their last name now. I will in a minute, but really nice. But anyway, it was right there outside of town, basically. Okay, because Stricker had been there forever. He was the car guy, and so we.
John Deere guy.
Is he a John Deere guy too?
Was before
Oh, he
he
was?
cars.
Okay, so then he got the cars.
They kind of yanked his dealership.
Oh, okay. He's an interesting guy. How well do you know? You know him well, probably.
Well,
No, I spent some time with him.
Yeah, he
He's a
had
car.
a John Deere dealer until, anymore there's a dealership, but they have 10 dealers. 10 locations.
Oh,
So
everybody's kind of competing with each other then, or what?
Well, now we got Western equipment. They got Clinton, Weatherford,
Okay.
Woodward.
You mean that all have the tractors?
Yeah.
Or the
They're
dealers?
They're all one dealer.
Oh, they're all one
one
dealer.
but they have different locations. Even Amarillo, Texas
Wow.
is one of Western equipment. Then you go to
Oh.
P&K and I don't know, Norman.
Well, when did Stricker lose that deal? A long time ago,
Right,
right? Yeah.
yeah.
So I dealt with him when he was the car guy. But anyway, so he had a little bit of land down there. Cooper was in there. Not Cooper. That's Bush. Bush was in there. I'm saying Cooper because the well was called Cooper. But it was actually kind of interesting. But this was, we got together with the range people. They had another idea. We didn't want to really drill it deep because it was gas. You know, natural gas at the time was pretty low in terms of the price, and we thought it was kind of limited. But the first well they drilled was really good, and then but what they didn't do, which is what I'm going to show you, what we believe needs to be done, and what we're working on now up here, and hopefully we'll get down there, is you got to target things. You can't just sort of drill down and frack it. You know, you hear all this stuff about fracking, good and bad, and expect it to be economic. You actually have to do geology, and that's sort of been what our goals all along is do a lot of work with the rock. So this is where Buster and Jane is. We drilled a shale well up here, not a successful well, but there was still work in the Cherokee to do, and potentially Oswego up there. We did drill with Newborn here, and I'll show you that in a minute. And then we also got Apache that drilled another well actually just south of the field. So the original vertical field in supply that produced, and they wanted to drill there. This well has been pretty interesting. Their well's fairly tight, but it helped to give us data. And then last we had this sand completion of the Cottage Grove. Now there is some Cottage Grove in your area, but I still think this limestone's better, and I'll show you the map in a second. So we still got these two areas well, this one actually had a well in it. Your areas had no drilling in it. We were originally going to drill one of these. And frankly, we actually tried to encourage the group we were involved with at the time when we had, this is pretty marginal. We said, okay, drill this, but you really have to target it. So their idea was, as long as there's shale, we're going to use the actual, the formation that traditionally produced as a way to just carry the bit, and then somehow access by stimulation the shale to make it flow. Well, that's not this. This doesn't work here. It works sort of in other basins. They're doing a little bit in West Texas, a little more in the Marcellus because it's overpressured. But this doesn't have the right geology for that. And we started to see, this was actually more of a true limestone up here. We started to learn that, and as this was unfolding, we said to them, let's move and do something else. We just couldn't get them to move. So we eventually, they went on. We just was all part of that partnership. Got some of the acreage back and started to focus on the areas that hadn't been pursued. So that's what's been known to date. Now I'm going to really, because this is how it relates to you, then I'm going to go down to yours. This Oswego play, which we believe has a lot of untested potential, is what we're doing now. Okay, this is interesting. Could be a secondary target, but we don't think it justifies. And particularly, now of course, we actually were going pretty nicely last summer, and then we had some issues with one of the wells with some frac sand coming in, and I'll show that in a minute. And then the price collapsed, and basically everybody's been in rigor mortis. Now I had folks kind of getting out from under the covers in June. Price of oil went from $40 to about 60. And in this play, by the way, will cash flow at 45. So the reason I'm not having people laugh at me, including the bankers, is they see, wait a second, this is actually not too deep, it's not real expensive, and it could potentially still cash flow in a lower price environment. And we're going to be, I don't know what cattle's going to do, but I will tell you that oil, in my judgment, will probably be between $40 and $70 for the foreseeable future, unless there's a disaster in the Middle East or something, which isn't necessarily going to be long term. But I think, to me, when we were hovering in the $90, $100 oil, I never really believed it, actually. And it was, money was exchanging hands, and it was a good